Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, today we are going to be going over Literacy Standard 8.1. Okay? Literacy Standard 8.1 tells us to do two things and to do two things very well. But it adds a little catch. There's a magical and mysterious third thing that we have to do. We've heard of this thing before in order to prove our first two things. The very first thing says make an analysis. And we know that making an analysis is kind of like making a summary of what we've read, right? The next thing is it's going to ask us to make an inference about what we read. And the magic thing that it's going to ask us to do is to cite evidence to support. Okay, remember, we cite evidence all the time when we do Achieve 3000. And what do we do for that? Remember, we use RACE, right? Restate, answer, cite, and explain. So we already know how to cite, but I'm going to help you out today with the story that we read last night for homework, which was Farewell to Manzanar by Jean Wakatsuki Houston. Okay. So remember, last night we were supposed to read the first chapter, and the first chapter was What is Pearl Harbor? So everybody, do me a favor and take the worksheet that has been passed out to you. This one right here. And what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and write our name, date, and period number on this worksheet, please. Okay? Now, as you're writing your name, date, and period, trustfully, I'm going to go ahead and read these instructions to you right now. So our title for this worksheet is called Textual Evidence Worksheet. Big surprise, right? So our directions say this. The first part of our assignment says, directions. Write a brief summary of what takes place in the given text. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to do today? We're going to write a brief summary of what takes place in the given text. Okay? We're going to write a summary. So, I'm going to go ahead and help you out with this one. Now, I know we all read this yesterday, but if you notice, we've only got about 2 to 3 lines to work with on this. So, I'm going to try to help us shorten everything out. So, when we meet our main character, Jean, we don't even know her first name yet, because it's not set in the book yet. The only reason we know it's her is because in the foreword, we find out that it's her book. So, in the very first chapter, What is Pearl Harbor? We find out that Jean's experience about learning about Pearl Harbor is very unique. So Jean finds out about Pearl Harbor on a day that her dad and so many other fishermen in the Bay Area decide to go off on a fishing trip. Right? And remember, they have their little ritual or kind of like a pattern that they follow whenever somebody takes off for these big trips. Everybody meets out on the fishing dock, on the boating dock, and as all the boats go away, everybody waves until they can't see the boat anymore and it disappears into the sun. Has anybody ever tried staring into the sun for very long? It starts to hurt your eyes, right? Well, think about it this way. They got to watch their loved one on a boat do something they love, and they got to wave at them until they left. Except something different happened this time. Instead of the boat disappearing for a long time, suddenly the boat got really big again, right? Okay, so we find out that Jean's dad is going to go out on a fishing trip, and he unexpectedly returns. When they start seeing the boats getting bigger, everybody's wondering, why are they turning back? Somebody says, hey, maybe they hit a storm. Maybe they saw something out there. And then one neighbor comes out after hearing something. Comes out and tells everybody, the Japanese have just bombed Pearl Harbor. Now, most of these people on that dock did not know what Pearl Harbor was. Somebody even asks, what's a Pearl Harbor? Kind of like how you guys go, what are those, right? Okay, I had to throw my little joke in there. I know it was bad. But you get the point now, right? Nobody knew what it was. At least not very many people did. So, as they are working out why everybody's coming back, all they know is that the boats are getting bigger, and finally, everybody returns. What happens the very next day? Anybody tell me? The short answer is that the FBI starts going around to people's houses to ask questions, and they start picking up everybody that they can. Now remember, we don't exactly know what happens to them yet because we only read the first chapter, right? But what happens to Jean's dad? The very next day, the FBI comes over, and she even says they were wearing fedora hats, right? Okay. Remember fedora, that thing I wore about 3 weeks ago during Halloween? Okay, cool. Just so we remember. Fedoras are cool. Now, we find out that Jean's dad gets taken away, right? Okay. So if we're going to write a summary about this, there are 3 things I want us to focus on for this chapter. What does Jean's dad do? He goes out on a fishing trip, right? But what happens? He gets turned around and he has to come back. What happens to her dad afterwards? He gets picked up by the FBI. Why does he get picked up by the FBI? Because they think he has something to do with Pearl Harbor. Now, if we're going to write this in a summary, I'm going to help you out. So everybody, do me a favor and let's turn our attention to the overhead projector, please. And what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and write down exactly what I'm writing, because while I'm going to work on this with you for this first chapter, tomorrow when we read chapter 2, you're working on this assignment by yourselves. The only way we get better at anything is by practicing, right? So this is our practice one right now. You guys are going to practice with me. So let's go ahead and start this off. So if we're going to start the summary off and we're going to try to keep it short, Jean's dad goes out on a fishing trip and unexpectedly returns. Okay, I'm going to reread that to you right now because I know it kind of may be difficult to read. Jean's dad goes out on a fishing trip and unexpectedly returns. Okay? I'm going to read that again. Jean's dad goes out on a fishing trip and unexpectedly returns. Now, what happens after this? We said that a neighbor comes out and says the Japanese have just bombed Pearl Harbor. So, we're going to write our next sentence, and just go ahead and follow along and catch up right now when you can. A neighbor tells them that the Japanese have just bombed Pearl Harbor. Now, the last thing that happens in this chapter is what? We find out that they take Jean's dad away, right? So, who comes to take Jean's dad away? Starts with 3 letters. Okay, FBI. The FBI takes away Jean's dad. So, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, we're going to have to try to squeeze this in here, I know. But I promise you, this will be the last sentence, okay? Lastly, the FBI comes to take Jean's dad. Remember, Jean is spelled with 2 N's and an E. Jean's dad away. Okay, perfect. So, now we've got our little summary, and I'm going to stop us right there for a moment. I'm going to let everybody have a moment to go ahead and work that out.